What is going on, everybody? My name is Tyler, and I know it's been a pretty decent amount of time since I've last posted a video on this channel that's not just my work from Citrus TV or any other none of the fun stuff, I guess you could say. Like the fun content stuff that originally I started with this channel. But I figured I had some time. The one big issue is I've been really busy. I've obviously been back at school at Syracuse University. Go Orange. They're on their Sweet 16 run in the NCAA tournament on the men's side, and then on the women's side, I'm actually recording this right before they play UConn in the second round basketball of the NCAA tournament. So fingers crossed the Orange win. If not, it'll be old ticks exposed, I guess. But I wanted to film this video. I've actually been sitting on this for a while. I wrote out the script. I'm looking at it on my Google Docs. On January 3rd, I just haven't had the opportunity to record it, and now I feel like I had the perfect chance to. Because yesterday it was announced that Survivor, my favorite TV show of all time, is back recording for season 41. Obviously, it's been over a year. They were supposed to record after season 40 finished airing, so that was back in mid-May. But because of COVID-19 and all the safety issues of that, they halted production. They halted everything because they were supposed to go film in Fiji. And that's it. We hadn't heard anything. We didn't know when season 41 was going to be filmed, when it would be coming out. Yesterday, Survivor and Jeff Probst, the host of the show, announced that they will be getting back onto the island in Fiji. They've started filming season 41. So I'm very excited. And I figured I'd do like a dream Survivor cast list, an ideal Survivor cast list, in my opinion. Obviously, this will probably not be the cast. This won't be the theme, given the fact that the last season was Winners at War and All-Star season. They wouldn't do two All-Star seasons back to back. But I'm going to be I'm doing an ideal cast list for Survivor Second Chance Round 2. Season 31 of Survivor Cambodia, was the first Second Chance season. It featured players voted in by the fans. There's a pool of players, and then they voted in the final 20. They had a whole thing on the live reunion show for Season 30, Worlds Apart, and they basically announced the players that would be competing for Season 31. That was ultimately won by Jeremy Collins, my favorite Survivor contestant of all time, I will admit. And now I'm doing that for a second time. I'm going to try to cast who I would want to see on Survivor Second Chance 2, whenever that season comes. I assume it will come out sometime in the next 5 years between Survivor 40 and Survivor 50 in 2025. So the criteria for this is, there's only one thing. There's two things, actually. I lied. The player cannot have won, and they've only had to have played once. So if they've played once and won, disqualified. If they've came back and lost, so someone like Spencer Bledsoe, who was on Survivor Season 28 and then Survivor 31 and lost both times, did not win the $1 million, he is not eligible for this list. So I'll first start off with some honorable mentions. I did 10 women, 10 men for the main cast, which I'll go over in a moment. But I'll start with the honorable mentions. I had 15 names that I left off, but players I wouldn't mind seeing back. And granted, I did not see all the original season of these players. I've seen clips of some. I've seen the season since, so there's not much in depth there. So don't expect too much. Number one, Greg Buess from Survivor Season 1 Borneo. He was just a fun character from what I've read and seen. He was on the cast list for. He's reportedly in talks for Survivor 31, the first Second Chance, and some other seasons, but conflict of issues, scheduling issues prevented him from doing any seasons, so he'd be somewhat interesting. Elizabeth Hasselbeck from Season 2, she later went on to appear on shows like The View. I don't think she would ever come back, but she finished in third place that season. I think she would be someone really interesting to watch. Nelia Dennis from Season 4 Marquesas, someone else who finished, I believe she was third. No, she finished second, excuse me. So she made it right there to the end, just did not win. Don't know if she would come back. Ian Rosenberger, he was someone I believe that has been on the eye of production, wanting him to come back. He just hasn't yet, so I wouldn't be surprised if he did not come back, just to be realistic here. But he made it to the end. He had the longest Survivor Challenge, Immunity Challenge in history. Him versus the eventual winner of Season Palau, Tom Westman, hanging on those poles in the middle of the water. And he said give up, because he wanted to preserve his friendship with Tom, which was something very honorable, something worth watching in my opinion. Gavin Winston, Season 38, he finished in second place on that. Edge of Extinction did not have a vote casted for him the entire season. Played a pretty solid game, but Chris Underwood, the eventual winner of the show, coming back from Edge of Extinction, really hurt his chances, and then he wouldn't have won against Rick Devins. That'll be just, let's be real. Two guys from season 26, Survivor Karamoan, Fans vs. Favorites 2, Reynold Topfer and Eddie Fox. Reynold, Jeff Probst called him like multiple different names during the season. Reynold finished, I believe it was 8th, if I'm not mistaken, 8th or 7th. He went out right after Malcolm. Fun character, nice big guy. He was a well-liked character on the show. And then Eddie Fox ended up finishing 4th. Had he won that immunity challenge, that final immunity challenge, he would have had a shot at winning. Probably slim, but that's that. Alexis Maxwell from season 28, Survivor Cagayan. She was the vote right out prior to the merge. Someone who tried to be a little strategic and just got burnt right at the end by her alliance right before the merge, so she ended up getting the boot. Jacqueline Schultz from Survivor San Juan del Sur, she ended up finishing 2nd that season. Another player who's very solid player, did not have much of a chance winning against Natalie Anderson, the eventual winner of the season, because Natalie just played a more overall complete game. But Jacqueline was a very big part of helping Natalie get to the end, and I would like to see her back there. I actually have, I'm not going to spoil anything. Kyle Jason from Survivor Season 32, Code Wrong. He was on the Braun Tribe. He was an interesting guy. He had all these tattoos. He's a bounty hunter, but throughout his confessionals, a lot of times he was talking about his daughter with autism, so he became, at least for me, a well-liked guy. I liked him on the show, and I just wish he made it a little bit further in the game. Michael Yerger from Season 36, Ghost Island. I think he is someone that will come back very soon. Fit guy. He's 18 when he started on the show. He was playing it up like he was 23. Because he had that awareness of young guys are not going to do well necessarily. And he had a good time. He just ultimately got backed into a corner at the end. People didn't trust him. And then the final 4, I got 4 women. Season 37, Angelina Keeley, another person who I feel like will come back eventually. There were, I believe, rumors of her coming back sooner, but she had just had a child. So who knows where she's at. But I personally was not a huge fan of her. I thought she was a little too over the top, but I feel like production likes her, so she would come back. Lauren O'Connell and Victoria Bamande. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm going to be totally honest. Both from Season 38, Edge of Extinction. Lauren, she was on a tribe that did not do so well throughout most of the season. Made it to the merge, made it deep into the season. Lauren got voted out, I believe, in 6th. And Victoria got voted out in 5th. Like 5th to last. Both players played really strong games. Victoria especially. She was kind of like a little bit of like a puppet master in the background. Just ultimately couldn't pull it out in the end. I mean, Rick Devins and Chris Underwood really pulled a fast one over her, especially at the final 5 of those idol plays. And then finally, Lauren Beck, Season 39, Island of the Idols. She was someone who would have probably won the game if it wasn't for the final fire making challenge. She went up against Dean, what's his last name? Kowalski? Yeah, Dean Kowalski in that final fire making challenge. And had she had won, she probably would have won the game. She was that good. She had played that good of a game. Was in the majority alliance for the entirety of the season. All right, enough of the honorable mentions. Let's go to the men. So how it will be, it's 10 men, 10 women, and then they would be split off into 2 tribes of 10, a 5 and 5 of each gender. So we'll start with the men, just how that's how I wrote it first. And the big obvious one for me is Rick Devins. The guy, Season 38, Edge of Extinction, was originally voted out on day 8. 4th one voted out, but he returned to the game thanks to the Edge of Extinction twist on day 17, right at the merge. Lost in the final fire making challenge on day 38, finishing 4th place. What's interesting about that is he was on track to win the game. Won 4 individual immunity challenges, possessed 4 hidden immunity idols during the game, 3 of which he found, 1 of which was given to him because he returned from Edge of Extinction. He made multiple fake idols, pulled a fast one on both Julie and Lauren late in the season with fake idols. It made for great TV. Devin is someone who, or Rick Devins, excuse me, is definitely someone who deserves to come back. He played a really good game, and I would like to see him play in a complete season, not have the Edge of Extinction. It was a great twist for him. Like, what's interesting about the Edge of Extinction, people hate the twist of, or hate like the concept of being voted out and having the opportunity to come back in. Like apparently, a lot of the chatter was Edge of Extinction specifically. Season 38 was not a great season. But you got great characters. You would not have gotten someone like a Rick Devins or a Reem, both of whom were voted out very early, without the Edge of Extinction, without that story arc. The same thing happened at Winners of War. We wouldn't have seen, like, Natalie would not have made it to the end because she was voted out first. we wouldn't have gotten the same confessionals from Ethan or Rob or Parvati or even Tyson because of without the Edge of Extinction. So the Edge of Extinction itself, I think, is a great idea. I think just season 38 did not go well. But Rick Devins, I definitely think he needs to come back just to see if he can do it again. Next up on my list is someone who I think I'm surprised hasn't came back sooner. I thought he would have been on a second chance for sure. Hayden Moss of season 27, Blood vs. Water, the first Blood vs. Water season. He was on Big Brother 12, won that game. He was the boyfriend of Kat from season 24 at the time. The 15th person voted out and was sent to Redemption Island. Ultimately lost in the lone challenge he competed in Redemption Island to ultimately finish in 7th place. Won 0 individual immunity challenges. So from a competitive standpoint, not great. But just from a personality-wise, I feel like on the screen I would really like him. Then you got Dean Kowalski, like I just mentioned. He was on season 39, Island of the Idols, won the final fire making challenge against Lauren. Probably would have... He had a good chance of winning the game. I think if it was not for his poor performance at the final tribal council, he could have won the game. He finished in second, received 2 jury votes, won 2 individual immunity challenges, made 2 trips to the Island Idols, one of which was when the final 5 was taken back. He won both the rewards available to him, successfully played the Isle Nullifier at final 5 to vote out Janet, which was a great move. Honestly, though, I was really hoping he would pull a fast one on Tommy, because if you don't remember, spoiler alert, I'll just say right now. I should have said that at the beginning. This whole thing is going to have spoilers. But what are you going to do? When they went to the Island of the Idols, there was a clue that Tommy found on the bandana on the buff, because they'd given new buffs, which is something they'd never done before unless there was a tribe swap or a merge. They gave new Island of the Idol buffs, and there was a clue on there. And I don't remember what, I believe it was a sword or something like that. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. I should have done better research, but I'm just talking off my cuff here. Tommy was trying to find this clue. It ultimately led to an idol. He told Dean about it, being like, hey, there's this thing, do it. Dean found the idol, didn't tell Tommy, played it, I don't think he even played it. I think he brought it to the final trial. Like, yeah, because he had won final immunity, or the immunity challenge at the final 5, and then ultimately won the final 4 because he didn't have to. I honestly thought he would pull a fast one on Tommy, give him the idol that was rightfully Tommy's because he knew the clue, play the idol nullifier on him, vote him out, and Dean maybe would have won but it was the right play to play the idol nullifier at final 5. Janet would have won the game without question. Lauren would have won the game without question. I think Dean, throughout the season, he got bailed out a lot. He got bailed out by Kelly with her idol play on him. I believe it was right before the merge. He was at risk of being voted out multiple times, but ultimately he would find a way to sneak his way out of there, and ultimately came in 2nd place. And like I said, if it wasn't for his poor showing at the final tribal council, he could have won the game. Next up, 4th, John Mish, the boyfriend of Jacqueline from season 29, San Juan del Sur. I believe they're still together, if I'm not mistaken. He ultimately finished up in 6th place with an idol in his pocket. If I ever play Survivor, I would love to find a hidden immunity idol, but I would hate it at the same time because that means I would have to play it. I would have to. Because I would not want to have it voted out in my pocket. On day 35, he was actually in consideration for the first second chance season, but rumor has it he missed the call from production and never got into that pool of voting. So that was interesting. He won 1 individual immunity. Like I said, he was voted out with that hidden immunity idol in his pocket. Just someone, I don't know necessarily if I would want him back. I feel like he'd just be someone cool to come back, even if he was in consideration. And he played a solid game, but I would like to see him play without Jacqueline. Or Jacqueline without John. Either one. That's why I left Jacqueline off and put John on. Because there were a lot more other women I wanted to see over Jacqueline. But because John and Jacqueline played at the hip the entire season. So I'd like to see how he would do without someone who he fully trusted by his side. Number 5, I have Shane Powers from season 12, Panama, what was it? Exile Island. Thank you. That was the word. He ended up being voted out on day 33, finishing in 5th place. This was a season where castaways were split into tribes at the start of the game based on age and gender, so Shane was on the older men tribe at the beginning. And during his time in Panama, Shane, he never won an individual challenge, but this was the season where Terry Dietz dominated. He won 5 out of the 7 individual immunities, so there wasn't much to go around. But Shane was just a fun character. For the first second chance season, he was a finalist for the cast, but was ultimately not selected in the final vote. And it was at this point he said that he was done with the show, but who knows? Maybe one more call would be the trick. Frankly, like he has said that he will not do it again. I feel like at this point production wouldn't bring him back just from the standpoint of it's been so long. It will have been 30 seasons if they do it in 42. But he was someone, like, just a cast. He was also originally casted for Survivor Heroes vs. Villains season 20 before being cut for Russell Hantz because Russell was season 19. They didn't know if they would have anyone from that cast that they want to put on. Obviously, Russell made it very clear that he should be on that cast. He was also offered to appear on season 16, Micronesia, the first Fans vs. Favorites, season 23, South Pacific, where they brought two castaways back for like a Redemption Island style. But he declined both of those times. So clearly, like there have been times where he's been in consideration. He's been in consideration multiple times. So maybe one more call would do the trick. I don't know if production would necessarily give him one more call, given the fact he's been turned down. And for the first, second chance, the fans didn't necessarily want to see him back, I guess. He was ultimately tied, by the way, with the eventual winner of the season, Aris Bukauskas, for the most votes casted for them for elimination with 9. So that's just a fun little nugget. But yeah, someone who's had multiple chances of coming back and just simply hasn't. Shane Powers. I would like to see him back. Number 6, Jay Sarrett. Or Sarrett. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'll be honest. Maybe one of my most favorite guys from the most recent seasons. Season 33, Millennials vs. Gen X. Finished in 6th place. Voted out on day 36. Won 2 individual immunities. Successfully played a hidden immunity idol for himself. It was voted out after trying to play a fake immunity idol made by fellow castaway David Wright. Just another fun character that was just great on the season. I feel like he could have won the game if he made it to the end. He was already on that path. Just looking at the rest of the cast, if it wasn't Jay or David, if David made it, he would have won against anyone. If Jay had made it, he would have won against anyone except Dave, in my opinion. Now Jay has become he hasn't gotten out of reality TV. He's done the last 2 seasons of MTV's The Challenge, The Challenge Total Madness and Challenge Double Agents, and I would not be surprised if he does more seasons of that. So why not another appearance on Survivor? I think it's definitely in the cards. Christian Ubicki comes at a 7 for me, season 37, David vs. Goliath, finishing 7th place, voted out on day 35. Christian was interesting because on the first day of that show, of David vs. Goliath, he was called out by the Goliath tribe. Both teams were tasked. The Goliath tribe was tasked with picking the weakest players on the David tribe. So they picked out Mirza and Christian. And they went by literally purple hair and Big Bang Theory for Christian. So that just shows how behind the 8 ball he was. But he played a really solid game. He made a lot of connections with people. Ultimately, he was deemed too likable and thought that no one thought they had a chance against him. That one individual immunity against Alec, it went 6 hours or whatever, 5 hours, 6 hours. It was crazy if you remember. And there was that touching moment during it where Alec was on the chopping block, basically. Like, he knew that he didn't win that challenge, he'd go home. And Alec was like, give it to me. You know you're safe. My butt's on the line. But Christian basically was like, I don't know if I ever have this chance again to win. And that was a very touching moment for me. I feel like that resonated with a lot of fans, just showing like you never give up because you never know when you have an opportunity. At least for me. Was called out, like I mentioned, during that first reward challenge. And he actually won the challenge, by the way. Very impressive. With a slide puzzle moment. That was the thing. Christian had a lot of those moments in confessional and just in general that just made you laugh. So I feel like that's why production would bring him back. Had 18 votes casted against him for elimination, most of any male contestant, which is insane that he lasted that long. Tied the record for most votes against him that were nullified with 12 because he had one idol played for him by Davey and another idol played by himself, I believe. Yes, he successfully played and hit an idol for himself while also having one played for him by a member of his alliance, like I just mentioned. So, haha. Number 8. Probably the most deserving person in terms of second chance is Damobate Roboti from season 36 Ghost Island, finishing 2nd. First ever person to be tied for votes at the final tribal council. Ultimately lost by 1 to Wendell Holland. He and Wendell worked together all season long, so it's another thing that I'd like to see how he does without someone as close to him like Wendell was, because they were literally like Batman and Robin, or not even Batman. Like They were like this the entire show. And it was phenomenal to watch. It was great television. And ultimately, it came down to Laurel, the one member of who made it to the end of that final 3, who didn't get any votes casted for her. She had to break the tie. and ultimately went with Wendell over Dom. And like that is the quintessential second chance, someone who deserves this. Won 3 individual immunities. He successfully played the legacy advantage on himself as well as a hidden immunity idol. Although when he played both advantages, he did not have any votes casted against him, so they really just out of had to do it or wanted to do it. So that's it. Number 9, Devin Pinto from season 35, Heroes, Healers, and Hustlers. Not a great season in my opinion. He only finished in 4th place. He was the first person ever to lose in the final fire-making challenge, doing it so on day 38. He had not lost, or had he not lost or that challenge and not been a thing, would have made it to the final tribal and had a strong chance of winning. Probably would not have won again over Chrissy, but they had implemented this fire-making challenge right at the end, at the final 4, where the person who won immunity got to pick 2 people, essentially, to go into fire and earn their spot for the final tribal. That was the other thing with Dom, too. He had the option to go up against Wendell and beat him, but he felt like, no, I can't take that risk. Wendell won that and ultimately won the game. Maybe that swayed Lauren a little bit. Who knows? Or Laurel, excuse me. But yeah, Devin won 0 individual immunities. Just a fun character. And again, I mean, I know it sounds like a broken record, but I feel like he is another someone who deserves a second chance, just given how the game, I guess, kind of screwed him, if you will. Finally, number 10 on the men, I wanted to go with someone a little bit older, so I went with Ken Huang. Huang, I think I'm pronouncing that right, too. From season 16, Gabon, voted out on day 37, finishing in 5th place, won 1 individual immunity, 1 individual challenge total. He really did not show much in terms of the game, but he had handed a lot of votes during the show, correctly voting in 10 of 12 times. He went to tribal council, just someone who's kind of like somewhat of a puppet master, but not necessarily. I just feel like he would be someone who would be a little more old school that would be fun to watch, although he is still young at age 35. That's what's crazy about that to me. But moving on to the women, we got Elaine Scott, from season 39, Island of the Idols, finished 7th place, voted out on day 35, won 1 individual immunity, played an idol she found, but had no votes cast against her. Just another really fun character, Southern woman, just down to earth. She would have won the game, without question. And she got screwed. She definitely got screwed because what happened was she got voted out on day 35. The next day, Dan, I don't remember his name. I don't want to remember his name because he is a horrible human being. There was already an incident that season. If you remember season 39, Island of the Idols, there was incidents about Dan, another cast member. Cast member. I guess that works. Contestant. That's a better word. Touching people, and they didn't want to necessarily be touched like that. He had received a warning from production, and then on day 36, an incident came up where Dan was pulled from the game, pulled from the jury, was not invited to the live reunion. This whole thing, there was a whole controversy. And at the end, they showed a little screen that Dan had been pulled from the game after an incident that occurred off camera with not a contestant, so someone from production. Had that happened a day sooner, or was reported a day sooner, Dan would have been gone, Elaine would have been in, and the dynamics of the game would have changed immensely. So it was very interesting, because Elaine was viewed as a threat to win, big time. So she ultimately got screwed there. Found the vote blocker advantage as well, which she used to vote out Jason Linden when their swap tribe was split even 4 members to 4 from the original tribe swap. So that was a huge title shift in the game, because who knows what happened there. They would have gone to rocks, or someone could have flipped easily. Who knows? Elaine, I would love to see that. Number 2, Reen Daly, season 38, Edge of Extinction. Voted out first, like I mentioned on day 3. I mentioned her a little bit earlier. Once again, she spent the remainder of the game on Edge of Extinction becoming a fan favorite because of her never give up attitude. She had the toughest road of anyone. She spent 35 days, 30 days, I don't know how many days it was, on the Edge of Extinction. And just provided a lot of great moments. And I feel like that is something, I feel like production would want to see her back. I don't know if she would want to come back. I don't personally talk to Reen Daly, believe it or not. But I would like to see her back, just to see what she does. Because she got screwed in the sense that she was very adamant. Like, a lot of her tribe mates didn't like her because she was being the mom. She was one of the oldest people on her tribe. And she was being the mom of the tribe, and they rubbed a few people the wrong way, a lot of the younger people. So she ultimately got the boot, and she was in the minority, which ultimately doesn't help. She would be actually the second person ever to be voted out first to appear on a different season. Francesca Hoagie was the first one. She was voted out first on season 22, Redemption Island, and was also voted out first again on season 26, Caramoan. Hopefully that doesn't happen to Reem. I don't think it would. Number 3 on the women, Chrissy Hoff back from season 35, Heroes, Healers, and Hustlers. So I find it funny. I didn't like the season, but I got 2 people from that season on my second chance. But I guess that's what happens. She finished in second place, receiving just 2 jury votes. Would have won the game if it was a final 3 of her, Devin, and Ryan, in my opinion. Being the 4th female ever to win 4 individual immunities, was the first player to win the final immunity challenge, then selected 2 players to partake in the fire-making challenge. Like I mentioned, had that not happened, she would have won the game. Because it would have been Ben voted out the eventual winner of the show, and Chrissy would be probably the winner and wouldn't be on discuss. Both became the 4th female, like I mentioned, to win 4 individual immunities. Received the super immunity idol, but did not play it during her lone opportunity to play it at the first tribal, so that's just interesting. Fun little fact there. Just another older woman. I feel like I had a lot of younger men, it felt like, so maybe an older woman would just be nice. Jessica Lewis, the 4th woman I have, from season 33 Millennials vs. Gen X, voted out on day 30, finishing in 10th. Became the 3rd person ever to be voted out because of a rock draw tiebreaker vote. Vote was 5-5 between Hannah and Zeke. After revote, there was still a tie. So per the rules of Survivor, it went to a rock draw amongst all those who were not either immune or did not receive a vote. So Hannah and Zeke became immune, and then whoever had individual immunity or played an idol that tribal, I don't remember what it was, they were also safe. So everyone else had to draw rocks, and she ultimately drew the bad rock. And I feel like her time was cut short. That's just me. First castaway also defined the legacy advantage, but she never had the chance to use it because she hadn't made it far enough in the game. Number 5, Sydney Gillian from season 32, Co-Wrong, voted out day 37, finishing in 4th place, lost in a fire-making tiebreaker at the final 4. It was a 2-2 tie, and just ultimately could not win. Had she won final immunity, she would have made it to the final tribal council. She won 1 individual immunity. I don't think she would have necessarily won if she had made it to the final tribal. She probably would have gone up against, I don't know who it would have been. Honestly, I think it would have been Ty and Aubrey. I believe that's what it was, if I remember that season correctly. Michelle, the eventual winner, would have gotten voted out. I don't think she would have beaten Aubrey or Ty. They were just too good. But who knows? She also would have changed the game immensely because she would have voted out the one. That season was weird because whoever won the last immunity challenge got to vote out a jury member from someone from the jury, and they wouldn't have the opportunity to cast a winning vote. Michelle had voted out Neil, who would have definitely put his vote on to Aubrey, and that would have changed the game. Sydney winning that, who knows who she would have voted out, and maybe would have swayed in her way, but I don't think it would have. Number 6, and this is someone who has definitely been in talks of coming back, just hasn't. She was in talks for Game Changers. She was in talks for season 40 until it became a winner season. That's Carolyn Rivera from season 30 Worlds Apart. She finished in a tie for 2nd, receiving 1 jury vote, won 2 individual immunities, found in a hidden immunity idol on day 2 without clues, and successfully played it herself, negating 5 votes casted against her later in the game, which was huge. Final 4 Tribal Council. She won the fire-breaking tiebreaker to earn her way into the final 3, which I thought would have been enough for her to win the game. Ultimately wasn't. It went to Mike Holloway. Another deserving player, someone who's on the bottom, won 5 individual immunities. But she is someone who has been in the running for multiple seasons, so I don't see if they don't do a second chance season soon, and it's just a regular returning season, whatever it is, maybe it's Fan versus Favorites 3, or another Game Changer type season, or who knows what it is. Carolyn should be on that list. She should be on the short list of women for that season, without question. Now it's just a matter of she'll do it. Number 7, Sabrina Thompson from Survivor season 24, One World. Another season that I found absolutely. She finished in 2nd place, earning 2 jury votes. Found a hidden immunity idol on day 2, but because it was found at the other tribe's camp, she had to give it up to a member of the other tribe. It was really weird because they shared one island. They shared one beach. The camps are right next to each other, but she found it on the other tribe. It was weird. Won 0 individual immunities, had 2 votes casted against her the entire season for elimination, and was in consideration for a second chance 1, but was not selected. So I feel like someone who could come back, probably won't, but I feel like it would just be cool to see her again, play again. She was in a dominant alliance too, so who knows how that shakes up. And now, final 3 women, probably 3 that won't come back, but I feel like it'd be really cool to come back from, especially from earlier seasons. Number 8, on the women's side, I have Natalie Boltmann from season 16, New Micronesia, Fans versus Favorites 1. Voted out on day 37, finishing in 4th place. There's no way she would have made it to the final 3 unless she had one individual immunity, because Amanda, Parvati, and Sari were tight, had a Favorites alliance, and ultimately voted her out. As a member of the Black Widow Brigade, it had a crucial part in convincing Eric Reichenbach to give his individual immunity at Tribal, where they voted him out at the final 5. Natalie's butt was on the line. Had Eric not given it up, she would have been voted at 5th instead of 4th. So that's always good. In one of the most epic moments in Survivor history. This was the first Fans versus Favorite season. She was the last She was the last member of the fan tribe, the original fans tribe, to be voted out, so that's something there too. Won 0 individual challenges. Was actually in consideration for Heroes versus Villains, but was cut before filming. She'd probably been on the Villains tribe. And I'm not surprised that because they had a lot of players from that Micronesia season. They had Parvati, they had they had Parvati, they had Amanda, they had James, they had Sari. Anyone else from that season? No one else from that season. So, but 5 players that played together on one season would have been a lot. I mean, I know they had a few people from All Stars, the original All Star season. Not enough though. They only had 3, 4, whatever. You get my point. It would have been a lot, in my opinion. But Natalie was someone cool. Come back just from an older season. Number 9, I have Daryl Johnson from season 7, Pearl Islands, voted out on day 37, finishing 4th. Won 3 individual immunities. Always impressive. Had a legitimate chance of making it to the final 3. But at the final 4, the immunity challenge saw members of the jury win. Meaning that none of the remaining castaways were able to win individual immunity. It was very weird. I honestly don't get that challenge. I'm trying to think of a way to explain it, but I just don't get it. Had there been a legit challenge, and it was the final 4 between Dara, Lil, Johnny Fairplay, and Sandra, Dara probably would have won that one, putting her in an elite company with 4 individual immunity wins amongst women. Maybe could have been the first to win 5. Who knows? And just didn't have the chance. It was just a weird challenge, and who knows? So maybe she would like to rewrite history. And finally, the final woman I have is Heidi Strobel from season 6, Survivor Amazon, voted out on day 36, finishing in 5th place. Although she did not win any individual immunity challenges, she was the first person ever to have the winner of individual immunity give up their immunity for someone else, with Jenna doing so on day 33 to help save her friend, save her alliance member. So that's a huge moment. Heidi obviously made news back in the day. She and Jenna stripped for peanut butter on the show during a challenge. Made a lot of appearances on Playboy. It was the whole thing. I don't think she would come back just because it's been so long. But who knows? I feel like it'd be cool just to see someone from the old school come back. I had a lot of new school players, and I feel like that's what it would be if it was a Second Chance Season 2. A lot of new school players, but that's my opinion. And I'm now realizing this video is going pretty long. But hey, Survivor, what are you going to do? Let me know your thoughts. Who would you want to see come back in Survivor if we were to do a Second Chance Season? So players who have only played one time and did not win. Who would you like to see? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And until next time.